We'll start this meeting, call to order. This is the joint meeting of the DPW Subcommittee and Town Council meeting Thursday, February 24th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the Veterans Room. Call to order. Mr. Splain.
Present.
Councilor Steves.
Present.
And Chair Marquetti is here. Councilor Dow and System Member Lazo are absent.
We thought we saw Steve in the parking lot, but he hasn't come in yet. So.
Okay. All right. For the record, Heather, DPW Director Heather Blakely is here. Citizen George Shenier is here, and Maureen Doyle is here. Thank you. Consider and approve joint DPW Town Council meeting minutes of January 19th, 2022. Have you had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm scanning them right now.
Any changes?
I'm good.
They look okay. Move to accept.
You gonna make a motion to accept that?
Okay, motion made by Mr. Splain. Second by Gus. All those in favor? Motion passes. Agenda item number 4, consider and approve DPW Town Council meeting minutes of February 1st, 2022. You had a chance to look at those? Those are done by Councilor Adams. I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah, I was going on there.
Motion.
And this was an online one.
Motion.
Motion made.
Second.
Splain, second by Gus. All those in favor?
Abstain. I wasn't here. Abstain.
I was the only one who was here.
I don't have any problem with accepting the minutes.
I don't
Yeah,
either.
I think you can.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
I will vote to accept. All
Accept.
right, thank you. Agenda number 5, Citizens Forum. Does anybody have anything they would like to discuss? I would like to discuss something, so I'm going to step down as the chairman for a minute while I do this, because you being a senior member,
Okay.
please take over. Thank you. Number 1, Everett Street. Somebody's doing a patching job there. And I've been talking to residents, and I went down there and took a look at it, and it looks pretty shabby work to me.
That's
Some of the
National Grid,
work-
and they've been told that they needed to address their patches today, so I assume that
Okay.
they were out there addressing them today.
Thank you, because there was they've even been creating potholes in their patching. So I appreciate it, thank you. Number 2, Morris Street. I am going to presume a utility company was up there, and they cut some trees down,
National Grid cut trees
and
down.
they just left them there.
We have to pick up the trees.
Okay, I was wondering who was gonna pick that up.
Yep.
Did that have anything to do with the car accident that was there a couple of days ago?
No.
No. Because there was one up there, they blocked the road off briefly for a car accident when somebody hit a tree. It looked like it bounced off a tree and rolled down the hill.
No, we had gotten a call earlier in the year regarding some of the trees up on that side of the road, and I went out and looked at them, and I looked at, there was at least 3 that I could tell even in the winter were dead. And I called National Grid because they were over the lines, and they said that they sent their forester out, and they said, oh yeah, there's more than 3. Do you have any problem with us taking them down? I said, absolutely not. She goes, okay, we'll pay for everything except for taking the trees away. I said, okay.
Okay.
All right,
So,
thank you. Thank you very much for looking into it.
yeah.
All right, thank you. Zane, I will take back over as chairman of the committee.
I got it.
All right, thank you. Agenda item number 6, discuss transfer request for $45,000 from Water Filter Plant Capital, 610-450-583-000-22582, and $40,000 from Water Capital Reserve, 610-450-583-000-91250, for a total of $95,000 to the FY16 South Street Water Main Design, 4200000-5300000 -63750 to cover the cost of amendment number 2 to add full-time construction observation to tie-in bonds agreement for the South Street Water Transmission Main and Road Reconstruction Project. Entertain a motion to recommend that council approve such transfer.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Swain, second by Gus. All right, hold on. Heather, would you like to speak on this?
Yes, and so I actually am looking at this, and I think we need to take 6 and 7 together, because obviously 7 is the amendment. But I can speak on 6 and it will apply to 7, just so you understand where I'm coming from. So, hearing feedback from the council regarding wanting full-time oversight on our projects, I asked Ty and Bond to give me a quote for, proactively, I guess you could say, to give me a quote to provide the full-time oversight. And I do feel that it's important. Obviously, we're coming up to the spring. They did some full-time oversight in the fall for us. So this would just be a modification from going part-time, like 2.5 days a week, basically, to full-time 5 days a week. So I took this because I kind of received that feedback on some of our other projects, and I thought that, you know what, I should give you guys the cost. I have a place we can fund it from under existing accounts in this year, and this is what they gave us, and this is what we were looking at doing.
All right, thank you. Mr. Swain?
Heather, they're asking, first, I agree with this 100%. But my question is, you're asking for 95,000, and your first transfer from water filtration plant is 45, second is 40, which only comes to 85. We're shy of 10,000.
You are correct. We can't
Is
do
that
math
just-
today.
Is that just a miss?
It's just a mistype. Yes, it's a oversight type. We can take 50 from capital reserve and still be fine, so.
I mean, I'm all for this
Yep.
either way. If
I don't know how many
if the
people
number's
of us-
95, the number's 95.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know
in
how many
favor.
people had to look at this to miss 80. But, so I will have it revised to be 50 from capital reserve and get that corrected paperwork up.
From water filter plant capital?
Truthfully, it can be either way. There's enough money in both of them, whether it's capital reserve or filter plant. We just kind of split it. I would probably take 50 from capital reserve, which will leave us with 71 in that.
I'm just curious, does it require a 2/3 vote to take from capital reserve?
Nope.
It does not.
It's in budget. It's not stabilization.
Oh,
Are we going to have would that be considered a friendly amendment?
Yes.
All right.
yeah, that's fine.
So 50,000 from water capital reserve.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Swain.
Heather, tie-in bond's been on this whole project since it
Yes.
started, correct?
Correct.
So the other question I have, this is that whole South Street water line project.
Yes.
What is that pump house outside of Westfield? Is
That's-
that sewer, water?
That's
What's-
sewer.
Oh, so I'll have to bring that up. That's something different then. Okay.
Yep.
I will support this 100%.
All right. Counselor Steves, do you have anything?
Yeah, quick question. Under task 5, they talk about construction observation times. And I just want to clarify. It says that they've provided 232 hours so far. And a total budget, the original amendment is total budget of 600 hours. So how much are they actually adding to? Where is it? How
So
many
the
hours
amendment
are they
number
actually
2, if you
adding?
look at number 4, it's 400 hours, it's 140 hours for administration and 530 hours for oversight.
So that makes 270 hours.
Yep.
Oh, that's a lot of stuff, which is good. We need it, so. Okay, cool. Good. Good.
Are you all set?
Yep.
I have a couple questions. First of all, the original contract called for 4 months of construction oversight, but because it was delayed, they only ended up doing 1 month construction oversight, correct?
Correct, but it was part-time.
So wouldn't that mean that they owe us some money back because they didn't
No,
do
because
it?
it's not the original, they're just continuing on. We'll still have additional months coming up. We're not done. That's what, it got delayed into the spring.
But my point is they didn't do any work for 4 months,
They weren't billing us either. They bill us by the hour.
all right? So it wasn't just a flat fee?
Nope.
Okay. So we set money aside, but
Yep.
they're charging us on what it hits the end there, and then
Yep.
and then you have to come up with some more money, I see. All right. Now, have you drive on South Street every day, right?
They do, and it's in bad shape, but
Yeah, it's very
we
bad.
either, unfortunately, at this point, having, the potholes that are there are not as a result of the construction, first of all. The potholes that are there are of a result of us having potholes and that road being bad for so long. We have gone out and filled potholes every week on that road. We can keep doing it and we will keep doing it, but every time it rains, every time we get a freeze-thaw cycle, the material comes back out. I can't have the contractor come fill potholes that are our potholes. That wouldn't be appropriate. The leveling course is bumpy, but it is still probably better than what the other side is where the potholes are. So there's really not anything I can have them do right now that is going to prove the rideability of that road.
But when I look at it, I drive on it every day too, because I have to go to Sturbridge almost every day, and just the laying down of the asphalt with the jagged lines and stuff, and you're trying to navigate that, that to me is not good construction oversight.
It's a temporary patch. It is consistent with what a temporary patch is done in many locations. It was an overlay of their patch, and that's what sometimes happens. We don't ask them to mill and overlay it because that would cost us a lot of money that's not necessary at this time. What we're trying to do is get the most efficient bang for our buck for our final product. If we had them mill and overlay that whole section before they left, it would have cost you an extra $500,000.
Okay, I agree with that. I wasn't asking for a mill and overlay, but I do think they could have just made it a little bit even.
When you overlay,
sometimes that'll pull you right off.
when you overlay in the method that they were doing, it's a skim coat overlay. And it's not always the full width of the road because they're trying to match something that, if you think about what a profile of the road is, if the asphalt is smooth, that would be very smooth and you'd have it. Unfortunately, that asphalt in that area was like this pre-existing. So they were trying to match those high points, and it's not always it's not a precise thing if you're not starting with a flat surface to start with.
All right.
I know it's not great. 100% agree. Can't wait till they get back out here and we actually finish the project and can finish the road. And when it comes spring, if there's things, the other thing we have to realize, we can't get hot mix right now. So all they would do is come with cold mix and try to put it on the side, and it's not going to do anything. It might do something for a day and then it's going to be gone again. Just like the potholes on the other side that we have filled multiple times. And I'm always asking them to fill them because I come down that road and I know, and I hit them too, so.
And you think that $95,000 here is better than hiring a clerk of the works?
So this is not just for the one person, this is also for the administration of the contract, which is checking the billing and everything of that nature for additional time. I think a clerk of the works on one job would still cost you more than $95,000. Kevin's agreeing with me.
Okay, well, I thought a clerk of the work would be working for the town and they'd have multiple.
But they hold the liability.
Yes.
All right,
Clerk of work doesn't.
okay. But
You would
you're
still
looking
need the
up-
engineer involved, even with having a clerk of the work on site, because the clerk of the work does not make any decisions regarding the design.
Okay.
So you still pay the engineer, and the clerk of the work just oversees it and gives us technical information. Here, the engineer is our technical person. We have to stay within provisions of our contract. We can do whatever we want on a contract to get a great road every time that somebody works on it, but you're going to pay big bucks for that type of request.
All right.
Heather, what's the total cost of that project? Do you know ballpark?
It's around 3 million.
3.5, 3?
Yeah.
That's like an insurance policy right there, I think, $95,000 on a $3 million project.
All right.
Yeah, basically.
Counselor, or George had a question.
My question with this job here is, I'm looking at it as the person, which I'm hoping is going to be there every day to
Yeah.
oversight. So you're getting somebody there every day to oversight, plus you're getting an office to do the billing.
They do the technical building and they check the quantities and all of that, yes.
So every day that this job is being worked on, that person will be there to be the eyes of the town.
Yep.
Now, to go back on the question, they were talking about like South Street, the fill and all that, and I'll bring up Everett Street. Isn't Everett Street being filled with hot asphalt?
It is.
So,
But it is hot asphalt, but it's still being done in the winter, and it's, so they are required to maintain their trenches. I know I had a call, that the trenches are bad. My guys came and told me, Heather, the trenches are really sunk there. We need them to go maintain them. And I made a call, and they said, nope, we'll bring in the asphalt crew and we'll do it all tonight.
I don't think they were there today. I believe the company was working down by the old Christie and Thompson doing some gas line work there.
That was National Grid directly, not Nuco.
Right, that was Nuco at Charlton Street. That was Nuco's truck there.
I saw National Grid stuff
Yeah.
there, but it
And
could have been
they
Ross.
were actually digging up around there, but if you look at the asphalt that's been done, even at Charlton Street and Worcester Street, it's not looking like it's surviving the winter, and I don't know if that is punch list stuff that's gonna come back because they did the grass when the snow flew, and they did that paving there when the snow,
Mm-hmm.
and again, so
It is punch list stuff. On Main Street, we already have that as an item on the
right,
punch
but
list.
I look at we as a community is not doing the oversight on these construction jobs that are taking place. Everett Street is done every day, and every day it's a different layer of asphalt that's being done, so you're constantly being this way. They've done the whole length of Everett Street, and I can't believe that it's waited till tonight to report that you've asked them to fix it now. That street's been going on there for months, and it's terrible, and it's becoming.
But that's not their permanent patch either.
No, I understand that, but what they're doing there is creating, I believe, reliability for the town when somebody's driving down that road and all of a sudden you hit a certain spot and you get shot off to the left-hand side
So
of the road.
that isn't a town liability, that is their liability. If anything happens on that road while they're doing construction, it is their liability.
But shouldn't there be some oversight at,
I don't have the manpower to do that oversight.
Let's stick to
So,
South Street.
I don't.
well, I'm just, I guess I'm looking at all the construction sites that have happened over the course of time, but we can make that another night.
All right.
I do have
Are you all set, George?
Yeah, I'm glad we're having that West Street project like that, and I hope that. they
South
can-
Street.
South Street.
Yeah. We will do West Street like that too, by the way.
Okay. Gus?
yeah, one quick question. So do you think that this extra 670 hours is enough to actually cover the project?
Well, they did it based on what the timeline of the project was, because so we have the luxury of already being in construction and knowing what their production is and what the contractor's expected construction season is too. So yeah, they had the luxury of already having a couple months of work under their belt,
Right.
so they know what the production level is and they know how. So I do feel reasonably comfortable. Yes, I mean they estimated based on what the conditions they saw in the fall.
Okay.
Which is helpful versus estimating on nothing,
Right.
not knowing.
Absolutely.
Sure. The contractor can do 100, I think he's doing more than 100 feet a day, which is pretty impressive for what he's doing. And so they know what the time frame of the pipe, and then they have to go back and do some more drainage work because they have to wait until the water line is went in. So there's still technical work that needs additional construction work after they get the water line in that has to happen.
Right.
Crossovers and things too. So they'll still, but we have the schedule of the contractor. They've been pretty much on the schedule they've given us from day one, once they got the pipe in. So, yes, I'm reasonably comfortable that the engineer gave us enough hours.
And so what's the time frame for this to end?
Well,
Maybe next fall or like
Next
spring
fall.
after?
so they'll get done with their construction work before they do their paving.
Well,
And I want it to be, but I want a gap. So we're still in debate about how long that gap is gonna be.
okay. But will it still have enough time to actually pave it in the fall?
Yes, it will be like the end of September. You need a larger knocker. Bring you a hammer.
I'm just knocking on wood.
Oh, you're not gonna just,
Yeah, we're done by September.
It will be done by September, end of September.
All right.
Good.
You all set, Gus?
Yep.
Anything else, Kevin?
Nope.
All right. So the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item number 7, discuss amendment number 2 to Time Bonds Agreement for the South Street Water Transmission Main and Road Reconstruction Project for $95,000 to provide full-time construction observation. Entertain a motion to recommend that council approve this amendment.
Motion.
Swain. Estes. All right, Heather, this just goes with it.
This is the amendment to the contract
All right.
for the full-time oversight.
In favor.
Did you have anything that you wanted to say? Gus? No? All right. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item number 8, discuss the draft punch list for incomplete and deficient work on Main Street intersection improvements project. Recommendations may be fielded for deficient work items to be added to the punch list, but no action is required at this time. Heather?
So, at one of our previous meetings, Kevin had asked to see the punch list, so I did request it from our oversight contractor, VHB. So they have provided this detail. I will tell you, since this, he actually has been on site again and has a couple additional items. I saw an email today, and I'm sorry I didn't print it out. Today was a little crazy, but just to show you that we do have a running punch list of some of the areas that they have concerns with, and that have been brought up. And one of the things that we have said previously is that we are waiting on the pavement until spring. I know spring seemed like it was rapidly approaching yesterday, but seems to think that it wants to go away again tomorrow. So, we're sitting almost March 1st. I'm thinking that, March 15th, hopefully April 1st, we'll be knowing that we're out of the snow season and we'll be able to do a thorough walkthrough of the whole road, and make sure that there aren't any other locations that we're seeing the sprawling and degradation of the pavement. But Lynch has already agreed that they know that they have to address areas that are coming up, so that has already been there. You can see there are some sidewalks, and I believe there are additional sidewalk concerns. I know Kevin had some concerns regarding some of the curbing, and I spoke directly to VHB about some of the curbing at the crosswalks particularly, and he said they actually were designed to dive down and have shallow there at the curbing for ADA compliance reasons. So, but if you want to add specific items or have specific locations that I can have him go look at,
Can I do the walk? Is that a possibility?
if you want to schedule a time to walk with him,
Well,
I'm
whenever
sure.
he's gonna, I'm sure they're coming back to, I'll walk with him
Okay.
and point out my concerns.
Yep.
I understand what you're saying with the ADA, it comes
Yep.
down, but it's more than just the handicap. But I mean, in my opinion, that curving is horrible, horrible. And I think, in my opinion, the grade is wrong. Because a lot of these, I call them touchpads, the yellow handicap. If you watch when we get rain, there's almost a puddle in front of 75% of them.
Well, it'll try to get him to come when it rains too, so it'll be helpful.
Be helpful. I mean, Kevin has been talking a lot about this, so it would be
I
a
mean-
good idea to have him come
Yeah,
over.
I'm okay with
I have
that.
no problem if I can. I don't know legal wise if I can or cannot. I mean, I don't mind going.
You're just a concern citizen
You're
pointing
paying
out.
for it.
But I do have a couple things I want to bring up about this, yeah.
One thing that I noticed is already in front of Everett Street, there's a hole.
Yeah,
forming.
that's on here already.
There's gonna be a lot more.
I mean, come on, this is brand new.
There's another one in front of, on Elm Street, I believe I saw.
There's one down at the post office, Hamilton Street starting. And that's where I have a question, if I may.
Go ahead, I'll let you finish up.
So, a couple of things. Obviously, this mill and overlay at 75 by 12 foot, I mean, that's
At a minimum.
900, yeah, exactly, that's 900 square feet, that's gonna be a minimum, but, my question is we were told when this project started, a lot of people in town were questioning that hill. It was throwing out asphalt, it was throwing out concrete like they did in Charlton. We were told, we were gonna have put down a special asphalt?
Well, there was a vote when we decided to do the full depth reconstruction on the downtown section. We also decided that we were switching to the polymer special asphalt for the whole job. So that was voted in council.
Yeah.
Because there was a recommendation, instead of switching and only doing the one section being the polymer reinforced asphalt, to doing the whole job with the polymer reinforced asphalt.
What's the difference between?
The polymer in it, from what I've been told, not an asphalt expert, but I've heard it from the DOT experts that say it provides additional hardness to it, more stiffening, with still keeping some of the flexibility. But it also, one of the reasons we're potentially having some of these problems and seeing the sprawling is that it does make it a lot stiffer to work with. It stiffens up, it's a lot harder to work
It
with.
just seems like it's more of a coarse.
It is a coarser asphalt.
Very
It's not a
coarse.
fine asphalt. It's not like a fine top that we're used to seeing. It is a coarser grade asphalt with the polymer in it.
Alright.
So what you're saying about the coarseness is true. It is a coarser grade asphalt, but it is supposed to provide additional strength so that you don't get the pushing and the rutting.
Alright. If I may, Mr. Chair. I'm kinda glad to see we're doing something about this. The other thing I just wanna bring up, and it has to do with sidewalks on this project again. And I know we're going after Lynch for it, but I'm gonna bring up in picture number Station 101 plus 65 LT. That's in front of the junior high school on Main Street.
It's a near Wells. Yeah, and it's probably not from Lynch. It's probably from Wells.
And I do have pictures of it when they did it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel bad we're going after Lynch for all of it, and in my opinion, as of right now, I think the contractor that's doing the junior high school is getting away scot-free so far with the damage that he's done that hasn't been repaired. I know you said you spoke with him about
Yep.
the additional ones that are broke, and he said it was, I don't know.
It's still in it. He hasn't told me he's not going to do it. I think he's waiting for spring. I know he's trying to get his final permit, and I am going to go do that walkthrough when they do it. So I will bring up it again and
Because I
find
know
out
they
what's.
just poured concrete last week too for a sidewalk out there again, and it's like, in my opinion, it's a slap in the face to the town. I mean, that exit on Main, corner of Main and Pine Street, I mean, I watched them break it up and pour concrete 2 days later, and I'm like,
Yeah, why aren't you doing the whole thing?
exactly. So, I mean, like I said, I hate to bang Lynch on it when
When you know that it was them on it.
they had those big lows driving up and down it, 2 weeks after Lynch poured it, so I kinda,
I think
I've been
I have
hammering
a.
Lynch, but
I think I have a picture of it too, because I think the Lynch guy actually took it for me. So I think that I'll be able to find it and show him, because he claimed he didn't, and I'll be able
I
to
can
go,
forward
really?
it, I can forward it to you.
Yeah,
and
would
you
be
see it's
perfect.
fresh concrete to the old concrete,
Yep.
and I got 2 big wells sitting right on it, and I came around the corner, and I was just like,
Really?
that sidewalk's 2 weeks old. And
Yeah,
you're
there's no
putting that
strength
kind
in
of
it.
equipment on
Yeah.
it, yep, it's green. But I'm glad to see this has started, this process.
You all set?
Thank you.
Mr. Shenier?
I came to tonight's meeting because this has kind of been on my radar. I brought it up at the previous, one of the meetings a while back about Main Street. And I'm glad there's a punch list that's happening, but what concerns me as a resident is the fact that it seems, or it appears that we're seeing a continuing, on a regular basis, problems that are popping up in different areas of that project. And it's turning into a mess. And my concerns is this is gonna be a problem for the foreseeable future. And it's like I brought up that last time, the polymer asphalt works great when the temperature is maintained when it's being put down. And then problems develop, and the difficulty of using that stuff develops when the temperature isn't maintained. And when the equipment broke down on Main Street for those few hours, and that asphalt was left, as I said before, for hours in the truck, and not sent back to the yard, or to the asphalt plant, and they got the machine working after a couple hours and paid. And then the following next day, they did the same thing. So you take at least from the Southbridge Savings Bank Co-op down to Everett Street, that area, a lot of that area was done, as I call it, a coal road putting down. And now you're seeing areas, because of this winter, in that area of
Where it was cold.
workmanship is not good. And so my suggestion, in this agenda tonight, you're doing a $600,000
Change order.
change order. That change order is held back and not paid to Lynch, and that,
Well, we're holding back retainage.
I understand that. but
So we have to pay them on the items that they did do work on, and then you hold retainage when you have the retainage in their bond.
Right.
And you can't legally not pay them for work done.
But you should not be able to have to pay them for shoddy work.
Yeah.
And it's being shown that it's shoddy work. That's what's happening out there. And and this is gonna be a continual thing. So then, if you can't, and you have to pay them, then what I would suggest, or council start the process, is to institute the bond and have the whole project reground and done properly. Because you're gonna have a problem for a long time to come. You take the seams, you can see them now, it appears to be separating with the weather changes. And some of the seams I'm sure you could pour a gallon of water down into that seam, so what's going to happen in those seams there?
They're gonna freeze and
is
break.
if they're gonna freeze, and it maybe not happen this year, and it maybe not happen next year, but it's the life of that project is not going to be what it's expected to do because of the shoddy work that was done. And I'm not blaming anybody, but,
No, I just want to say, before we start going after their bond, what we need to do is give them the ability to wait and have additional discussions like we agreed to in the spring when we said we will reevaluate the entire road, which was what we said and we agreed to, and let them see if they're going to step up to the plate and mill that off and overlay all the sections that we're concerned with.
Right,
And
so-
that's why we're doing it in paper form now to put them again on
And I
notice.
understand that, I understand what you're saying, but in the springtime, they're gonna be doing this. And they're gonna fix here, they're gonna fix there.
Well,
So what happens in the fall?
Hopefully, we're gonna
Let
we're
him
gonna,
finish, please.
So what's gonna happen in the fall is that you're gonna have the same situation happenings in another area of the road. And then the following year, when the winter comes and you start getting the water infiltration into some of the questionable areas, so it's gonna be a constant fight. So somebody needs to come forward and say, listen, this isn't working, this project is not what it was expected to do. And me as, a citizen, and, I'm not a taxpayer at this point in time, but my son pays a great deal of taxes, and, to have to see this project, as far as I'm concerned, is a substandard finish.
and I think that we will bring that point forward, but before, you can't go after their bond until they refuse to do the work. So we have to go through this process. I can't go after their bond right now.
But
'Cause-
can't you go after them to do
Let her
the...
finish, please. Quit talking over.
So we have to follow the process, so we're going to follow the process. We will send the list, we will say we want to evaluate the whole road, which is what has been said. We will evaluate the whole road, and then we will argue about how much the road is going to be redone. I don't know that it's gonna be the whole road. I believe the top is, weathering is the wrong word, but it is in much better shape than the bottom. I think the areas that we have the most concerns about start around Hamilton Street, because I've seen areas on Hamilton Street intersection. It's down to the end. Now, but again, I wanna walk the whole road. I'm probably gonna have the whole road swept before I walk it, because I wanna see what comes up.
Right, that makes sense.
So let's follow the process. We have it on record that it was faulty. I would respectfully ask you maybe to put it in writing what you saw, because that will be additional ammunition for me to go at them with, that you were here on these dates, and I can even help you. I can probably help you on the dates, because I can get there. I can probably help a little bit on the dates. or in this time frame, and that you saw that it was done cold.
And I would hope that the minutes reflect my comments
Yep.
also, because
But I think just having even just a letter saying that, you know, to me, saying, I witnessed this at the, you know, during this time period when they were applying the asphalt, I saw the trucks, I saw the roller, you know, the asphalt machines break, be down for a long period of time. I think this added to the issues. I think it was being put down when it was too cold in temperature. You know, it just gives us ammunition when if we get to that point where we're going after their bond, which we will need, because it's telling you're gonna pull the bond is not, you're not automatically gonna win. They pull in the insurance company, and the insurance company can tell you no. I've already had it happen.
I've had some dealings at the airport when I was on the commission, and we've been successful in some.
Yeah, and we might have to go and test the asphalt and do some things of that nature, and it may come down to that. It may come down to us going and putting holes in that asphalt, which I don't really like to do,
Yeah, right.
but a core test will tell us a lot.
Right,
And it may be what we have to do.
all right. That's
Okay.
satisfactory.
All right. Okay, is everybody else set with this one?
Yes.
All right, so then we'll move on to agenda item number 9. Discuss appropriation of $200,000 of ARPA funds to the Main Street Intersection Improvements Project to cover a portion of pending change order number 8 to the contract with J.A. Lynch and Sons. Entertain a motion to recommend to council the approval of such appropriation.
Mr. Chairman, shouldn't we take number 11 out of order first, since that is the one that's
I know, it's like we're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, exactly. We should be deciding whether we want to do change order remember before we fund it.
All right, I have no problem with that. Do we need a
I mean,
motion?
we're really talking about all three of them at the same time.
Yeah, I really could.
We'll take number 11 first then.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Kevin.
Second. To take it out of order, just to do it.
Just to do it. Just go to 11.
We'll take 11 first.
Yeah.
Discuss change order number 8 to J.A. Lynch and Sons contract for Main Street Intersection Improvements Project for a net increase of $628,517.59, funded with appropriations from ARPA and water stabilization. Entertain a motion to recommend that council approve this change order.
So this is and you've heard me use this term before, so I'm gonna throw it. This is the balancing change order at the end of the project for the quantities of work that we did additional quantities of a bid item work. So there's an estimated quantity in the contract. Okay, we want 100 feet of water line, and we put 110 feet in. So there are, because of that differences in lengths, you pay at the same price as the contract that was bid, but you have to pay that. What also happens is, okay, I needed 100 feet of, I put in 100 feet of 6-inch water line, but I only put in 50, then you do a negative change on that line item. I'm just trying to understand, make sure everybody understands the process. This wasn't for any work that wasn't included in the bids. It was just the quantities of the two items didn't always match. What also happened here, and the reason why you see a lot of this coming from water, and we want to use ARPA, is a lot of these changes are directly related to additional water lines that had to be put in because, for instance, when we got to Everett Street, because we couldn't see under the road, obviously, where we wanted to tie the water line in, there was a duct bank for the underground electrical and communication lines that are down there. So you couldn't put it there because it literally was like on top of the water line, so you couldn't do the work underneath it. So we had to go an extra 200 feet down the road, and that's why you see that we went that much further down the road in front of the bank. Same thing on Marcy Street. We ended up going much further down on Marcy Street because we were hooking into a section of very old 6-inch pipe when there was a 10-inch pipe right there, and it just didn't make sense to leave the old 6-inch here. So we said, go to that, take the 6-inch, and now we don't ever have to go back there. So a lot of that is directly related to water. The ledge is related to the water. So I'm trying to look at the high ticket items for you. You know, there were, like you see, 6 additional stumps. So, you know, we said, you know, we think there was going to be whatever, I don't even remember what the quantity was, 5 stumps that we had to remove. It ended up being 11. You know, it's things like that. So it's not, you know, you're paying for what they did based on the quantities of what was in there, whatever was increased, or in cases of the negative on the second page, whatever wasn't put in.
So can you explain the really big ticket ones, like the 155 grand for extra ledge removal?
Yes, because we didn't expect to have that much ledge in the project, and we had ledge all the way from South Street down the hill.
Remember they were drilling and jackhammer in front of,
That was it?
that was some hard ledge.
So we didn't know there was gonna be this much ledge in the project?
No.
I mean,
No.
we don't have any original designs for
No.
when we put those.
No.
We need to keep those documents.
Well, you gotta remember, the water department, the water company wasn't owned by the
I know
town.
that, I know
So, we have a lot of very old documents, don't get me wrong. I laugh sometimes because I sometimes say, I can find stuff from 1900 easier than I can find stuff from 1950. There's like this gap in some things and you're like, damn, I can find this old stuff, but where's the new stuff? But the water department, we got whatever was there when they purchased it,
Yeah.
but they didn't have those original water lines from these water lines
They
are
take
over 100
measurement,
years
they
old.
take
I know
measurements
that.
from trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That
don't
tree-
exist anymore. And we didn't put it back in the location where the existing water main was.
Right.
So now you're digging a whole new
Or they
trench.
were-
We didn't do borings.
Mhm.
We have done borings now on West Street.
Mhm.
Well, we're trying to do borings. We keep on failing because it keeps on snowing on us. But yes, they're trying to do some borings on West Street right now to determine how much ledge is going to be there.
Okay.
So we do try to, and also you have to remember on this project, we added the water line after the design was already actually started. We weren't originally going to replace the whole water main. We kind of did that after doing some exploratory, how are we going to actually replace these valves that don't work on this really old water line that we're not going to be able to easily do, and started thinking about the age of this water line being over 120 years plus in a lot of cases, and said, yeah, we just need to replace this water line.
That makes sense.
Okay,
Okay.
you all set, Gus?
So were there any, of this list of items, were there any things in here that were really stuff that had been just simply misestimated in the project, and why? As
I
opposed to
can't.
something you didn't know about at all.
Well, I haven't personally. I pay the engineers
Right.
again to look at these quantities and agree with the quantities and say whether this was needed or not.
Right.
But when I spoke to them about it and knowing the areas that I personally authorized, yes, go further down to there. It's not just the pipe. When you pay for the pipe, you're also paying for the asphalt, you're also
Sure.
paying for the backfill, you're also paying for the ledge removal. There's a
Sure,
lot of
sure.
things you're
I get
paying
that.
for in association with the pipe.
Sure.
So a lot of these are in association of that. Yes, probably did they mess up some quantities, but the big ticket items are all associated with things they either didn't know or we extended and really increased the quantities for. Like, could you have, well, not totally, because I know I personally asked them to cut down more trees than we originally proposed to. Because when they got to that tree and my guys are standing there going, Heather, that tree's dead, we really need it to come down. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll have them take it down. Instead of us trying to go out and mess in their area,
Yeah.
I have them do the work.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay, so there were little things like that we went over. We went over on sidewalks. But, I mean, there were locations multiple times when people came to me and said, why did they not do that one little square? Can't they go down here on Central Street and do that one more little bit? Well, yes, but that means the quantities go up. We really were only planning to do the sidewalks that we touched.
Right.
Very good, Counselor.
Okay, I just don't like adding $600,000 to a project. That's a project in itself. Do we have any history of cost overruns with Lynch projects before?
I haven't done another Lynch project other than the ones that we've done this year. In the last 10 years, so.
All right. Tommy?
I had a couple of things. Heather, I don't know if you can explain it or not, but a couple of things. If you look at this change order, the line items that they do, can you possibly explain, it's kind of vague how they do this. And I'll give you an example. Look at on the second page, 22.3, 223.1, 227.4.
So those items are all bid items on their bid sheets. So those are those are Mass DOT item numbers, and that's how they bid it. So we'd have to have the bid sheet next to it so that you understood what the description was.
Like I said, the description, an additional 313 linear feet or 112 cubic yards or square yards.
Yeah, you don't know what it is.
You don't,
Yeah,
because
I understand what you mean. I can, for clarity's sake, provide the bid.
no, that's fine, because the only reason why I brought it up was, and I questioned it because I was kind of doing some numbers here. If you look at 151.01 and you read that, it's on the first page, sorry.
Yep.
And you read that, it says 183.1 cubic yards.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read 154.1, it's the exact same description other than the cubic yards changes.
Right.
So that would be.
But then what
one of
happens
them-
is the price per cubic yard changed a lot too.
One of them is for, unanticipated trenches using material. I'd have to go back. One of them is probably the ledge, and one of them is probably removal, replacement of the material.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to, this kind of threw me off when I read this on the second page, 701, the last sentence on that. Is there any, what happened there, the explanation, who the contractor was? And if so, did we pay for that? Last sentence says includes 22.64 square yards of sidewalk damaged by 80 Marcy Street contractor. Did we pay for that and
Yep.
someone else damaged it? Because I think we should be reimbursed for, 22 yards of concrete. Concrete's very expensive. And if it was damaged by, and the labor to, I don't think we as a town should pay for that. I think that should be something that should be checked into.
I can look into it, but we have to pay, and then
No,
we
and
have to get
I
reimbursed.
understand,
So.
we have to pay them, they did the work, that I understand 100%.
Yep.
But I think the town should look into possibly getting reimbursed. I mean, that 22 square yards of concrete, you're talking $2,000 there.
And I think there was another one that I need to look and maybe check to see if they got reimbursed, because the one on Main Street in front of what used to be the old Tots and Teens, when the
Teens.
guy did that sewer work,
Yeah.
I know I
'Cause I
had him
questioned
go,
that one
I had
because it
him
was a
go and
bad patch.
replace it,
Yeah.
because it was so bad.
Can they hold off on occupancy permit on the 80 Marcy Street deal?
Go ahead, George.
I'm sorry, I just.
No, that's fine.
I am going to the walkthrough for the. I don't know in the legality, because the occupancy permit. My question is, I'm not sure yet. But I am going to the walkthrough to bring up the things like the sidewalks in conjunction with the building department.
Because they were on the sidewalks this week, putting 2 windows in over the doors, with the walls. Again, this week, but I didn't know if you could just get, we know it was caused by them. And they say, no, we're not paying it. There's gotta be, other than court, hold off on their occupancy.
Well, I do have a bond on them also,
Oh, okay.
but, the drain layers bond, which includes the sidewalks and stuff like that. So there's a potential that we could go after that bond too, but it's only $5,000, but it's something.
Hey, you're right, correct.
All right.
But you're right, I will
Awesome.
definitely check into it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? All right, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Want to go back to
I was
9?
gonna ask one thing though.
Yeah, that's okay.
I looked, we had a change order number 6.
And we had a 7 and 8.
I didn't see where was the 7? The number 6 was for $1 million last August. And I was trying to find number 7, couldn't find it.
Oh, this is number 7.
Wasn't that for that 800,000 reclaim?
I thought that was that one. Yeah, I thought that was the reclaim in number 7. I actually tried to look for Karen before council. I will send you what it is.
All right, then.
Okay.
All right, then we'll go back to agenda item number 9. Discuss appropriation of $200,000 of ARPA funds to the Main Street Intersection Improvements Project, cover a portion of pending change order number 8, the contract with J.A. Lynch and Sons. Entertain a motion to recommend the council approve such appropriation.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Heather?
This is
Just
just
ARPA.
how, the next two items are how we're going to fund this change order.
Okay.
Or how we're proposing to fund the change order, I guess you could say.
All right. ARPA money can be used for,
ARPA money can be used for projects associated with water lines, and
Right.
since most of this change order is associated with the water line, so we felt comfortable that we could use it.
that's good. Yeah.
Is there a particular reason why you chose just 200 grand of it?
Well, because we know that there's other projects out there, so we don't wanna spend all the ARPA money just on Main Street. And it's not all of it, obviously. But, you know, where you're trying to say, okay, yeah, we can put a little bit more here. I think even when we did the original change order, I said it's very good, the last change order, I did say, look, we have to do a balancing change order. We'll be coming back for additional funds at some point somewhere. I don't know how much yet until we get it. I'll be honest, I was a little shocked at how much it was. I wasn't happy.
It's a lot, yeah.
But
All right, no one has anything else? All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Agenda item number 10, discuss appropriation of $428,517.59 for water stabilization fund 0845 to the Main Street Intersection Improvement Project to cover a portion of pending change order number 8 to contract with J.A. Lynch and Sons. Entertain a motion to recommend to council to approve as such appropriation requires a 2/3 voted from the council.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
so this is the second part of that funding. Again, most of this was attributed to water. I will say the water work, I know we've already put $1.1 million into the project associated with water, but the water work definitely exceeded the $1.5 million that we'll probably be spending on it. So I think, and we do have enough funding in here. We've been building up the stabilization fund. I can get you the exact amount. I believe it's in the millions right now, so. And we're going to be putting additional money potentially into it coming up, so.
What does this do to the water rates?
Nothing, because it's your water stabilization fund. It's like your stabilization fund, so it does nothing to your rates because it's your savings account.
Your rates are
And
so
you're not-
high that they have extra money that they
Yeah.
can put aside.
Well,
For
I'm
this.
actually asking, because I actually don't pay water rates. We've got well and sewer. We've got well
really?
and septic
Huh.
now. So
Well,
I'm
maybe
actually
you
lucky
should
enough not to.
recuse
You do
yourself.
pay, just in a different way.
Sorry.
You pay electricity. If you ever have to put a well in, let me tell you, you'll pay.
We had to do that about, what, 12 years ago? 15 years
Yeah.
ago?
Wasn't cheap though.
What?
No, but, I mean, it's just like at the grocery store.
All right.
You pay for everything.
Do you have anything, Kevin?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right,
In favor.
all those in favor? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, said you have to remember on Monday to have these switched over, because on the town council agenda, it
Right,
does happen just like you have them now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so number 11 will be first, ahead of number 9 and 10 on here.
And I would recommend we do the same thing for probably 6 and 7 instead of doing the transfer ahead of the
Yeah, that
approval.
makes sense. Yeah.
So switch those.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
6 and 7 must be switched to, yeah. All right, thank you. Move on to agenda item number 12. Discuss the opinion of probable construction costs for the West Street Infrastructure Improvements Project and proposed funding sources.
Motion.
Okay. Second.
Did you just go, oh? You gasped?
No, that was.
Because I did.
Does this require a
This doesn't require a vote. It's just, so I
discussion?
I think it's just for discussion purposes, so you can see like how insane the prices have gone up, and I shudder to think with the recent political events that are going on, how much more it could actually go up. Unfortunately, pavement cost is totally tied right directly to asphalt costs, and
Tied directly to
these
oil
type
costs.
of, exactly, I mean, to oil cost, and these type of situations that we're seeing politically in the world right now do not bode well for paving projects or any projects associated with paving. So, I will caution you that this was an opinion of probable cost that happened prior to that even happening, and they had already seen the prices jump astronomically from a year ago. But
Not up a lot.
then, with that said, I still think we need to, it's still a project that we need to do and move forward. And I will say that I think the engineer has definitely taken an approach of being conservatively high, but again, I don't know what happened to prices. And we can hope that before we go out to bid, which is not gonna be very long from now, and that's why we're bringing it up now, because bidding is around the corner, that maybe something will happen, the prices will go down, but I don't think that's really what's gonna happen. The good news that I will say, when we have to put these bids out with asphalt, there's an asphalt, we have to put in what's called a price adjustment with the asphalt. So if the prices, asphalt does drastically go down, we will actually get that reduction too. So if the price of oil goes down, we do get that reduction, just so you,
Yeah.
there's always a line item that you have to pay that differential on here and stuff.
Even if, would we get it as a reimbursement if we've already paid for it? But it hasn't.
So
been
they do
yet?
it at the time that you put it in the bid. So like when they put it down
Mhm.
and we're paying for it, it comes in right at that same time. You do it real time. So you wouldn't get a like, it's, you pay based on the time of it right then when you're
Yeah.
doing the asphalt. So it's real time.
Yeah.
Like we get a reduction real time.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So it's not, you'd
Yeah.
never actually put the money out. It would just cost you less.
Yeah.
So, you can see the engineers and where we look to fund it. So obviously, this project is hitting from multiple sources. We have some money already appropriated. We're considering taking more money out of the stabilization account from water and money out of sewers retained earnings. We have our CDBG funds of 140. Would ask for additional ARPA funds, and we would be hitting our Chapter 90 account funds for 139,200, the balance. Now, granted, we will not have. This is just planning purposes. This is what we're thinking at this time. Once we get the bid numbers, we will go and do actual numbers. The one thing that we had to do, because part of the bidding is that we have to get a certification from Mass DOT, so we had to basically show them how we were going to fund based on this account, and we have to get them their approval for that 139. If we need more, we can go back, but we can do an amendment. But they want to see, before they give you their certified contractors list, which we have to get, they want to see where the money's coming from. Okay, so this is just to show you what our idea was, to show you what the scale of this project looks like. So, because we are moving forward, we have already put in the request so that we can get the list of certified contractors, and they need to know what their scope of it is, because they have to be certified to be able to do this range of work.
Okay. Anybody else have any
Discussion?
questions? Kevin?
Heather, on this full-time construction observation, is that
Yep.
an oversight person for that?
Yes.
So there is one for this? And.
Well, then that's just an estimated cost right now, yeah.
That's understandable. And there was something else I was gonna ask. Oh, what's your timetable? One construction season, two? You had a ballpark idea?
We're hoping that it's one
'Cause it
construction
is a school
season.
zone, the school,
Yes, and it's gonna
that's
be
Very tricky.
tricky, and making it even more tricky is the fact that we're doing work on South Street
At the same time.
at the same time.
That's what my concern is.
So we started to have some conversations. Time Bond's doing both projects, so it makes the
Which is good.
coordination a lot easier because they know, they can work together. Like they're two different
like that.
project teams. One of the guys is on both project teams, which kind of helps because he knows kind of what's going on with both. But we've already had discussions. So my approach is there's water and sewer work that both has to happen. The water work that's happening at the lower end of West Street, closer to the fire station, the lower side, I think can happen first. We kind of were talking, that's like first phase. Then, and that can happen when school's in session. Because yes, it's a little bit of a traffic nightmare, but it's not right in front of the school. The sewer, which is much more complicated, and it's on the upper section near South Street, has to wait until we know that we can get traffic through on South Street, because it's going to be complicated. The water work that happens in the South Street, West Street intersection has to wait, because there's also water work that's associated up there.
Is that South Street intersection, is that where those million valves?
Yes.
We getting rid of that?
Yep.
That's
It,
a liability, waiting to happen.
yes. So that used to be where the old PRV pit was, and that's still in the ground, and that's why there's so many valves there, and it's a nightmare for the pavement, it's a nightmare for everything, and it's a very old pipe. So we said, since we're going to redo this intersection with new crosswalks, which is also part of the project, up on South Street and West Street, so that there's actually a crosswalk for kids to cross the street up
Yep.
there, because there isn't one right now. We want this all to be done. We want all the water lines in there redone, because we know that they're
Well,
wrong.
it's Definitely, those valves are nasty.
But if that can't happen, well, South Street project is happening, obviously, because we can't even do a detour, because you can't be, so there's a lot of coordination that has to happen. Any one of those things are a major project in themselves. We have some drainage work that has to happen, and then it's obviously full depth reconstruction, new sidewalk on the side, new multi-purpose trail use on that side. So they had started, and we have, I know we're gonna have to have another meeting before they go out to bid about putting some of those right in the bid documents. Our concerns are things that have to be coordination items, so that they know ahead of time. But the idea is to get this out to bid and to start that in the spring, go into summer, hopefully sewer gets done in the summer.
In front of the school.
We're thinking,
Okay.
it's a lot of,
Oh, it's a lot,
a lot of apples and oranges up in the air to coordinate, yeah.
but at least we're staying ahead of it, trying to.
We're trying to plan as much as we can. Obviously, we still need to get pipe, which was a problem on the other job. And concrete pipe and sewer pipe and,
So what is the actual plan to tie those lines together? The lines, the sidewalks? I mean, paving itself is not that difficult to pave.
well, paving's the last thing that happens,
I know.
which is
That's
always
easy.
the easiest part,
Exactly,
right?
that's what I mean.
Except for when we can't get it down right.
But I mean, like the lines in the roads, making sure that they tie properly into South Street and West Street.
Yeah, that's
And
all
all that
planned.
other
Oh,
stuff.
it's all, right, so it's that. We had a meeting just on how we proposed the layout for that. What I have said to the engineers even is we're gonna have to uncover all of this and kind of figure some of it out while we go. We can say on paper that this is how we want it. But, we'll be doing one line and getting that in and cutting that other line out of the way and putting the other line, because there are two water lines there.
Yeah.
And both of them go down West Street. So it's two tie-overs. One goes up Dennison, and then the other ones continue through. So we had a conversation about how we can do that. It will be one of the most interesting, there's going to be a lot of field coordination on how to do it too. So, but you know what? Just because it's hard doesn't mean it doesn't need to be done.
Oh, absolutely.
It totally needs to be done. They're very old valves. They're very much a liability of infrastructure with the old materials there. And obviously that intersection is in really bad shape. So it's a massive improvement to get that intersection fixed and have crosswalks and be more smooth in a transition. And so we're gonna have to tackle it sooner or later.
Oh, yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that.
It's just gonna, it will take some time and some coordination. So you won't wanna be traveling South Street and West Street for a while. Sorry. Just like nobody wanted to be on Main Street.
Sure.
Heather's name will be mud.
All right,
Until it's done.
all set?
Yes,
Counselor?
thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay,
Okay.
agenda item number 13. Counselor Adams, do you think you could ask Maddie to come over? She wanted to speak to
carpets?
it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Discuss condition of town hall carpets and vote to recommend that council approve the town manager soliciting bids to inspect, remove, and replace the town hall carpets in the hallways, town clerk's office, town manager's office with funding from DPW Project 63570 FY16 sidewalk repairs, and allow the town manager to sign any related paperwork.
Motion.
Second.
Did you want to start talking about this, or did you want me to talk about it?
Well, I can tell you where we are.
Yep.
We have already started trying to solicit quotes. Actually, just have anybody come in and look at what our concerns are and give us some ideas of what needed to be done. In an effort to do that, you can see that we've already removed a section of the carpet so that we could see what the conditions were underneath, which are, I would say, extremely poor. And I think I know that that whole existing hardwood floor needs to come out where that is, because it's springy, I guess would be a good word for it. And it shouldn't be if we're going to try to put carpet or anything over it. So I had spoken previously where it's concrete. I would like to put a surface on it that's more similar to a all-purpose surface for entryways, like that rubber matting flooring, or even maybe potentially leave it concrete with the removable rugs on it. I think that's a better solution than what we had with carpet stuck down to it. It's not, it's impossible to keep it from having issues. So we already kind of knew that, but we really wanted to see what was going on in that springy area. I potentially will do the same thing in the buckling areas of the town manager's and Maddie's office, because I think without seeing what the conditions are that's causing it, if it's bad subfloor, we need to replace all the subfloors. And that's a big, much different project than just replacing carpet.
Right.
And you can't tell that until you rip the carpets up. And the carpets are becoming a liability anyways. We can get removable, those rugs like we have to be able to put down in the meantime over top of it. That's a much cheaper and better temporary solution until we can figure out what the subfloor get the subfloor replaced. So we hear the problem. We've been trying to work through it. Right now, I will be honest with you, getting anyone to even come and look at it is a problem, or even to return our phone calls. Mr. Iozzo has stated to us that he does not want to do any municipality work at all. It's not what he wants to do. So I can respect that. We've called other commercial carpet places and literally for the last 2 weeks haven't received a phone call back. So we will keep working at it. We will keep probably removing section by section to see what the sub base looks like, because that's a different like I said, we gotta replace sub base. Maybe we do that. We have carpenters, we can do that. That saves a lot of money. And once the subfloor is done and good, then we have the carpets coming and being installed.
Okay.
And I would say, as far as it's town people's money, but I think maybe before we appropriate funds, first we should find out how much it is and look for other places that maybe we already have funds instead of taking it out of sidewalk funds, which I think that I know we just put that money back into sidewalks, so I know why you're looking at it. But instead of trying to appropriate funds that we don't even know how much it's going to cost yet, or even have an idea what the costs are going to be, maybe we can find a different funding source that's more appropriate, leaving the sidewalk money so that we can do more sidewalk repairs.
There's a lot of those.
Okay. Go ahead, Kevin.
We've been talking about these carpets for at least 6 months, since I've been here. The only problem I have, and you just said it, I do not agree with taking money from the sidewalk repairs. That should come out of general, that should come out of something else. I mean, we have sidewalks in this town that are horrible. I mean, we have sidewalks that cones are sitting in holes for a year and a half, they're not repaired. I don't agree with taking that money out of sidewalk repairs when we can't even do sidewalks ourselves. I mean, that should come out of capital, should come out of general, I don't agree with that.
All right.
I mean, we need to put more into sidewalks than we already have.
Exactly, but, I mean, I agree the carpets need work, I mean, we've been hearing it for a minimum of 6 months, but I cannot support that with taking money out of sidewalks, since we just went through all that.
Yeah, that would make more sense to do something like that would be much more sense to stick with the finish, actually.
Maddie, if you'd like to speak to this?
Yes, I just, when we were talking about this the other day, I forgot to mention that the assessor's office too, and because Francine had a trip hazard last year too, so just to, it's the assessor's office as well. That the board looked
I just think we should look at all of them. If we're gonna do it, let's do it.
For replacing them. we need to do that.
And Maddie, you do feel that the carpets definitely need replacing, right?
Oh, gosh, yeah, that was, he was supposed to come back to do it, because he knew he messed up, but
You moved everything out of your office for that too.
we moved everything out of the office, and if you've seen the office, that's not an easy feat.
Nope.
And then when he came in, he's like, oh, I'm not supposed to do this office, and so, and he never came back.
And the problem is tripping on it? and
Yeah,
it's
because it all
unsafe.
buckles and, yeah,
Right, okay.
And we only put these things in what, like 5 years ago?
2018,
Yeah, I thought.
they started probably buckling in 2019.
I mean, it's incompetent contractor.
Yeah, it was not,
Who did it? I don't remember.
I don't know his name, I couldn't tell you. He was Captain.
I couldn't tell you his name either.
I
I
picture
could,
he's tall, thin. Oh, gosh.
we can probably find out, because we definitely don't want to go back to him.
Yeah.
You're gonna have the records on that.
I'm gonna let Maureen next.
Oh, I would just say for the record, please do not put carpet down again. Carpet is so bad. And I recall being in this room, and I don't think I've been in this room in like a super long time because of this COVID thing. But I recall somebody, I believe it was you, was it you? Who brought up like putting down a surface,
Yeah.
like a regular surface. Was it you?
I'll take
Sorry,
it.
I don't want to. Wrongly.
Sure.
But I don't know. It would be much easier to like sweep if there's a rain event, put down a rug so people don't trip. But carpets,
50-50.
I mean,
If you talk to the janitorial staff, they will tell you that they much prefer carpets than any type of hard surface.
oh, but didn't you just say?
In appropriate areas at
Put a surface
entrances.
down and put a,
Doorways.
At doorways, it should be a
Yeah.
hard surface or a
yeah.
rubberized surface. But as soon as you get into an office area, I will tell you that if we put a hardwood down in here, I mean, there are certain engineered hardwoods, or even the engineered stuff, it's very expensive, number one.
Yeah.
It's also a lot louder. There's no buffering. A carpet is a soft surface, it helps with the noise retention and
Yeah,
things.
but we just heard
Slippery.
about, it hasn't lasted all that long.
It was
And it's
improperly done.
buckling.
It was improperly done. It has to have the right subfloor underneath it, and part of the problem is
Everything's improperly done. We were just talking about roads that are improperly done. Now we have carpets. Can't we write in the contract, can you do this properly, please? Snarkiness
That'd be
aside.
a perfect world.
Counselor Adams, did you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. I would I agree with, I work in Oxford part-time, and they just redid a lot of their stuff inside the town hall. It looks really, really nice, and it is the hard surface, and there's not a lot of noise, to be honest with you, that I can see. Now, there are carpets within the office spaces themselves. There is a slipping hazard as well, if we put hard surfaces at the doors, but they haven't had any issues at all. But I will say, how much did you say this may cost us? Or we
I don't even know yet.
Have
Yeah.
a clue. All right, so I mean, maybe we can find other funding sources for that. Be it
I think as soon as we can get somebody in here, and we need to decide on the scope. I mean, originally it was to do the hallway and the offices that we knew were having issues. If we're going to do the whole building, that's a
Much bigger project.
much bigger project.
Yeah.
if anything, we can plan out maybe not doing it all in one shot, but I mean, you know, like in here, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing wrong with this, so don't even touch it. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend. I mean, besides move that safe, if you want to put cement out there, so it'll probably go through the bottom. But I would recommend the hard surface within the hallways themselves. I do believe that they're easier to clean. But as long as they're cleaned,
Yeah.
you know, on a daily basis,
Right.
that's the big key here. And wax once a month or something like that. but, that's just added cost to the whole
Right,
process,
right.
so. But, I highly recommend I've tripped over the town hall upstairs, I think I tripped in your office a couple times. You know, I can imagine maybe at 95, and I'm trying to walk it through. I'm pretty sure I'll take a header. No. You guys are close. Thank you, Mrs.
All right, thank you. Now, the reason I recommended the sidewalk funds is because you had taken the sidewalk funds. I didn't even know about the sidewalk funds, and I had been trying since I got on the town council to get some sidewalks fixed, and we had no money. And then I find out we do have some money for sidewalks. Now, at one time, some money was taken out of the sidewalks funds to put towards another department, either for some, even for some
For sidewalks.
for the crosswalk, for
Well-
the signs.
No.
That's what it was for, and then you took the money out and you put it back in, and at the time, I watched the meeting, you said you
Wasn't
had
for the signs.
$60,000 in the sidewalk fund, you were putting another 23,000 back into it, so. in
No,
my-
we took the 60 out to fund the Lynch project for the extensions at the crosswalks and the sidewalks associated with those 5 areas. Because the crosswalks are also sidewalks that were replaced, Main Street, there's a whole section of sidewalk that was replaced down there that was really bad, that they replaced on both sides of the street. There were sidewalks that were replaced on Charlton Street. So it was so the leftover money from from that project went back into the sidewalk fund. So 23,000 went back in. There's not 6, there's only the 23 that went back in.
Okay, but what I do know is that it never came to this subcommittee.
It went to CDBG because it was a CDBG
A
project.
completely different projects, department, and what in my own mind, I'm looking at what they want to change in the new charter, and they want us to at least recommend funding sources, so I put this in there because I wanted to say, okay, this is where we can get the funding, I don't want to just throw it out there and say,
No, I appreciate
you
it.
go find the funding.
No.
But if you want to take it out of it, I don't have a problem with it. I don't know what $23,000 is gonna cover for sidewalks around this town. But I thought some of it could at least be used if you wanted to get somebody in here and at least take a look. That's gonna cost you some money, I imagine, to come in here and say, this is what it's gonna cost you. Most
No, usually
contractors-
they'll quote it for us.
Most
We just need to
contractors
come
that I know-
and get somebody to come and look at it and tell
Except
us
for
what they.
Kevin, he came to my house and was gonna get.
No, I think I honestly think we will get somebody to come and take a look at it.
All right.
Um,
And that's fine, if you wanna take it out from somewhere else, but I'll be honest with you, I feel like I'm being stonewalled here, because
You're
I
not.
asked about it
It's-
last year, and
You're-
then it came into, oh, it's gonna be the winter time, in February, school vacation,
I
it's come
honestly,
and gone.
if you want, can I answer? Because I am not stonewalling you.
All right.
But I have to put priorities on different projects.
Right.
I can't make, to me, I can't prioritize doing the carpets over the design of West Street.
Absolutely.
I can't prioritize doing the carpets over dealing with issues on South Street or Main Street or other major projects that I have going on. So I have to wait till I can get a window of time. And I told the town manager when you asked me, I'll go rip those up tomorrow. I'll have my guys in here ripping them up. And he said, no, wait till February vacation when maybe it's not as busy. Because he didn't want me ripping up carpets when the town hall was like crazy busy. I said, but I can't tell you what needs to be done if I don't rip up that carpet.
Okay. Should be able to do more than one project at a time.
I am doing more than one project at a time. I gave you 3 projects and I could tell you 30 more.
All right. I did ask about this a couple weeks ago, and you said you were busy with the budget, so I thought, well, I'm just gonna put it on, and we'll see how it goes from there. Counselor Adams?
Hey, Mr. Chair, real quick, you know, we did find a few years ago a lot of capital projects that never started, and I don't know where, maybe Karen can update that. I actually just pulled the folder today, to kind of remind myself to get with Karen to see if there's any projects that are out there that, you know, like we found projects from 2014, and we put them all on, much of that money in stabilization funds, or other projects, smaller projects. So I do know we have, I think, like 30,000, off the top of my head, like $30,000 for windows or something like that. It's just been sitting there. When we were about to give more money for windows, but the first 30,000 was never even spent. So maybe that's some of the funding that we can find, what Kevin's bringing up. And I can work with Karen and say, okay, do you have an updated capital projects list of things that haven't started? And I think it's something that we should probably do it annually anyways, to reevaluate some of those
Right.
capital projects that haven't started, so maybe we can find it from there. Maybe, I don't know.
No, I do believe there are still
That's good.
funding sources for town hall rehab. I believe there's an account for that. I don't know how much money is left in it.
I thought
But
we
I-
put aside a fair sum to, with the idea of looking at engineering like windows. and stuff.
Yes, there was an idea at one time to do
I wanna
that,
say it was somewhere
and,
in the 150 range.
but I mean, I don't. If I
You know-
gave you a list of all the projects that I'm currently working on, it would take a whole page
Yeah.
with descriptions.
Yeah, you did, that's like.
And this is something that has come up multiple times, and we've looked at these facility reports. One of the first recommendations in that facility report was to get a facility manager, that there's too many
Yep.
facility-type projects for my department, technical department of 2 people to do.
Hold on, Counselor Adams,
Yeah,
just hold on a second, just 1 second,
yeah.
but I'll let her finish first.
So I think, I completely appreciate that there's projects that need to be done, but sometimes I myself has to pick which project that I prioritize, and a lot of prioritization has been put on the roads in the last year. And I totally agree with it, but that means that smaller projects because even though they're smaller, and I can, and we are trying, and that's why I'm not personally making the phone calls. I have a person in my department that's doing that, but he's not getting very far.
Okay.
So we'll keep trying,
All
and
right.
and when we get closer that we have an actual project and a description, I will work with Karen. We will find the money to suggest to you, and like I said, I believe if you're going to go find out how much is in there,
No, she probably won't have that off the top of her head, but it's something that she could just evaluate.
we will find
see.
a source of money to recommend, or maybe capital budget's coming up. If we're gonna do the whole town hall and it's gonna be a $50,000 project, which I don't think the carpets that we were looking at were gonna be that much, I think it was gonna be more in the $10,000 range, we probably could find $10,000 to say, look, we have this money for town hall, we can appropriate this money for this and do this work.
But
Okay.
if we're gonna do subflooring, that'll be probably closer to 50.
Well, depending on how much subflooring we're doing. If it's just the hallway, but it's expensive. But again, if I do it with my own forces,
No,
it's
I
gonna
get that, I
take
get that.
longer, and that's the other thing, it does take longer. But we can probably do that, which saves us money than having somebody else come in and do the subflooring.
Right.
Well, Counselor Adams, the reason I asked you to stay is because, for just one
Yeah.
comment, I have been trying to find out what funds do we have available in multiple different departments and committees, all in the town, where money is just sitting there. And so far, I have not been able to get such a list. But it sounds to me from what you said, that you can get that list. If you wouldn't mind forwarding that to me, I
Oh,
would,
absolutely.
I would appreciate it.
So what this list is not for every account in the town hall. This list is specific to capital projects. Another evaluation of, we put this money aside, that a town council from maybe 4 years ago approved it, but it hasn't been spent yet or allocated to them.
Or it hasn't been fully
Or
spent,
has-
some of
or
them, they
some of
just
them
have
partial.
money.
So you're talking of like a half a page, if any anymore, because we took a lot of that, I think, maybe in your first year
Yep.
on, or maybe our first. We found that during budget season, we just happened to find all this in budget season, and we kind of cleaned it all out. So
Appreciate it.
absolutely, I'll send it to all the councilors, no big deal, or I'll have Karen do that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Well, how would you like us to, you would like us to change, I'm sorry,
It just goes to show you that with these capital projects, the roads and stuff that I've talked to you about for a long time. But the problem I have is you keep, everything is done is put on the DPW. And everybody wants it done today, and it's just more and more and more. And these projects that are coming forward are bigger and bigger and bigger, and they don't have the time to follow through to do all these other little projects. For the people that work in this building, the people coming in this building, the roads are very important.
Yeah.
But for Heather, she needs to get West Street done, she needs to get South Street done, she needs to deal with the winter plowing. There's more and more stuff that's put on every day, so the priorities that were important when those monies were appropriated are still there to be done. But it's just the inability or the lack of workers, staff, to be able to move forward with these projects. What's gonna happen is you're gonna end up with a building in Town Hall here, like you did at the fire station. If you're gonna just keep putting things off, I can tell you when I was in the fire station, the tower, for instance, was put off, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. Well, the tower's still not done, they're putting a new fire station in. It's like the roof, put the roof off, put the roof off, put the roof off. Tripled in price when it was finally time to do it. You have to be able to give the staff the ability to do the work and set your priorities. And you know, like I said, when you put money in there 3 years ago, say for rugs, and here it is 3 years later and there's no rugs being done, it's still a priority. It still needs to get done. So taking that money from the capital budget that's been sitting there, those projects still need to be done. They were important then, they should be just as important then. Or if it's not important, then shame on whoever brought it forward to say that it was important and it wasn't getting done.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Well, how would you like us to reword this then? Just take the funding from, I don't want to
I
just
don't,
say.
I don't think you need to do anything now. I think you, if, I would say, let's just table this until we get to the point where we know what the scope of the project is and at least have an estimate for how much it's gonna cost. Because you're
can't
asking.
table it. Because we still have to send us upstairs to the council for them to vote for the manager to go out and get those prices, according to this.
What's wrong with us just soliciting bids to take a look at?
But you don't
this?
need to have a vote to
You don't need
solicit
vote on
bids.
that? I don't know,
No.
because the way it says here.
You don't
we
need to
did.
do a vote to have us solicit bids. We solicit bids all the time without you voting.
Right.
All right, it just said it here, that's why.
There's not, there doesn't have to be a vote to solicit bids. I mean, there was no vote for me to go get quotes for
Right.
any of the engineering or,
That's
you
why I
know.
was confused on this, where it
No.
says vote.
Right, I personally, unless you want the council to endorse that we are going to spend money on carpets, and that's your intention, that this is kind of getting almost like upsourced as a capital project, because this isn't on any capital list, and it's never been a capital project to do carpets. We've done carpets, they were never considered a capital project, because there still is a possibility that it's probably over $10,000 worth of work.
Okay.
But is it, you know what I mean? It was one of those things. Is this a capital project or is this just a under capital project? But that's maintenance. It's a very tricky line there. But if it's your intention that you want the support of the whole council, then absolutely you need to put it up to council. But if it's your intention that you just want to keep directing me to keep moving this project forward, that message has been found, loud and clear.
Yeah.
I still don't think you need, even if you want the council's support, I don't think you need to put a funding source. I think you need to say, as a council, we want you to look at the carpets in these areas and come back to us with how much is it going to be, and then we'll find a funding source.
Well, that's good. That sounds good.
That's a good, okay?
So we'll amend this then. How shall we
We just
word
table it.
No, because he
No,
wants it,
I
he
want
wants
it
the
to go.
Oh, you want it to
council.
go up?
Yeah, discuss,
Done?
oh,
I would remove
Vote
the
to
funding.
recommend that council approve the town manager soliciting
yeah, it's fine.
bids to inspect and remove and replace the town hall carpets in the hallway
Well, in
and
this
leave it
case,
at that.
maybe instruct the town manager
Yeah, maybe instruct.
Instruct the town
to
manager.
seek bids
Very good.
for
So,
inspecting, removing and replacing town hall carpets and possibly subflooring as necessary.
Yep. In hallways, town clerk's office, town manager office, and assessors.
office.
And to bring back quote, well, with the.
And with, and to provide recommendations for funding sources.
Sounds good. So let's read that once more. Discuss condition of town hall carpet, or
we
vote.
move to recommend that the council
Instruct.
instruct the town manager to solicit bids to inspect, remove, and replace town hall carpets and subflooring as necessary in the hallways, town clerk's office, town manager's office,
Assessor.
assessor's office.
Unfortunately, it's already on the agenda. I guess you can
We
modify
can-
it.
We can change the
modify
agenda.
it.
It
I
doesn't,
saw it, I just printed it up.
change the way it's.
That's why I went,
Yeah, unless you just amend it on the floor.
Yeah,
We
well, that's
can,
what
we'll
I'm
amend it on the floor too, but we're gonna recommend the amendment here, is
Yeah,
that fine?
that's fine.
that's fine.
Yes.
Alright.
I think that's a,
Easy way.
Are you good with that, Counselor? All right. Is there a
Motion
motion to,
on the amendment.
all those in favor of the amendment? And then we'll go back to the main motion
As amended.
as amended.
The other amendments too to that agenda, because,
Motion.
the order of the items.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
I don't know, I get it upstairs before 8 o'clock.
Yeah, because we're not here tomorrow.
Okay, well, we're almost set.
Well, can the agenda be revised?
Again? Yeah.
on Monday.
On Monday? I mean, I guess it could be.
Oh, if you
That'd be a problem.
do it quickly, you can do it now.
Yeah, on vacation.
You can do it, you can do it.
I
right-
don't think, the
I mean,
only
you're
other thing
moving
is,
them around, so.
You can do it right now.
Counselor
because-
Danville, there's a one more item that we were going to add to this, so that, which needs to go on the agenda, which nor has that wording, because I sent it to both of
That's
you.
fine. You
Is
can
it
put that
already on there,
Which one is that?
regarding the
Discuss
bulk
and
tanks?
recommend award of contract to Ardent Group.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's finish this first. This
Yeah.
one that we have open on the floor.
It's not on there.
Oh,
You're going all over.
All right, all
So
those in
they're just-
favor? Motion carries, thank you.
Do you want to do
Mr.
that?
Chair, can I make a motion to talk about this
Yeah.
next, so Maddie can do whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are going to motion to suspend the rules to add the following agenda. Discuss and recommend award of contract to Ardent Group Incorporated in the amount of $12,000 for the installation of sodium hydroxide bulk tank at the water treatment plant from account 610-450-583-000-22582. Plant capital and allow town manager to sign contract.
Motion.
Does Nora have that language?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, I thank you for allowing us to put this on the agenda. We solicited quotes, and the quote procedure, we still have to kind of post this in various locations. We received 2 quotes, one from this Arden Group and one from Holden Mechanical. We didn't receive any other quotes or interest in the project. I provided you with the RFP for what we solicited, and it is to replace and do new piping of the sodium hydroxide tank at the water treatment plant. The water treatment staff have already this week decommissioned the existing tank and they're currently running off totes, so they've taken care of some of the decommissioning. This is a project that you remember we had to expand the door to be able to get the proper size tank in. So now we've already done the ammonia tanks. We've already done a set of the poly tanks a couple of years ago. This is the next tank. We're getting to the age that these polyethylene tanks, although they're a great material, they have a shorter shelf life because they're storing chemicals and they start to get brittle and you don't want it to fail because that's a really bad situation. So we're proactively replacing them. But we don't really want to work off of the totes for very long, so we want to get the new tanks installed and repiped as soon as possible.
Right.
So this is the repiping for that new tank. Takes.
Go ahead, Counselor Steves.
So how does this tie into the treatment project that we were doing, the treatment testing that we were doing?
So that's a totally different project.
I know it is, but how would it be tied in, how would it tie into that? If we're gonna change the treatment system, this is part of the treatment system. correct?
Yes, but we'd still use this. What we were looking at is an additional chemical, not anything that would take away from using the sodium hydroxide.
So are we gonna be able to set up the system so that we can add that other stuff into this?
That's a whole different conversation. When we do that, and actually it's on my capital plan, in my capital budget for next year, to do the whole pilot study, because we did a bench scale pilot, now we have to do full scale pilot to be able to do it, so that engineering and all of that. When we end up, if we end up being successful and being able to add, I think we're probably gonna go with a permanganate for the oxidation for the color. You're talking in addition to the treatment plant, because there's not enough space. So it would be a whole new addition, so.
Another $500,000.
Probably more.
Just what we want to do.
Yeah, but you know what, so it's kind of separate, you still need this.
Okay. So what's the time frame for doing this?
This,
Now.
Yeah,
now, immediate,
as in it'll be done within the next month.
month and a half, yeah. Yeah, they want to get them in there right away, that's why the kind of the rush of getting it.
All set, okay, Kevin?
Just, are we voting to approve this company to do it?
Yes,
Okay. Heather, do you know, there's 2,000 gallon tanks?
yep,
They have them, they can get them?
we already have them, we bought those.
So this is replacing that like 4,500 gallon tank we built the building around?
Yeah.
And you said that
4,200,
the decommission and removal was done in-house, saving money?
yep.
Okay.
So we've got the space for
Saved
these
a
two
lot of money
tanks?
doing
Yes.
that.
One tank?
A lot of money saved doing that.
No, and they definitely did, by
Oh.
doing it internally, yeah.
A
We
lot.
purchased the tanks, so we already had the tanks on site, so we don't have to be
So this
down
is
as
just
long.
the installation and
These is
plumbing?
installation and plumbing,
Okay.
yep,
What's the life expectancy on those poly tanks, do you know?
15 years.
Is that one? All set, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, all those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. And the water guys definitely thank you, because they were a little nervous.
Agenda item
Yeah,
number
with totes in the
14,
middle.
discussed snow operations, questions in regards to a contractor pulling 4 pieces of equipment off the town during the big storm we had. Also like to discuss pays for non-union, non-DPW workers plowing with town trucks and Bobcat we rent for sidewalks, and the long hours the guys are working and safety. Kevin?
I brought this up, I just got questions, concerns, observations, whatever you wanna call it. I heard we lost the contractor with
We
4
did.
large pieces.
4 trucks, two pickups, 2 larger trucks.
Is there a reasoning why? Is it?
Yes, so 2 of the trucks broke down at the same time. He was very frustrated with his staff. He was gonna lose the 2 trucks anyways, because they couldn't be immediately repaired. So I think he probably lost his temper a little bit, but, you know, at that point, we don't really have
Yeah.
he had to go and assist getting the other truck. One of the trucks literally had to, the whole plow frame broke, so we had to have it jacked up, and he was the one helping doing that, so his truck was off. So, we have spoke to him. Sorry. He is prepared to come back and plow with 2 trucks this storm, so at least we will have 2 trucks. The other truck, I think one of them is still broken. I think he was a little frustrated with one of his plow drivers, so he's only trusting himself and one other driver. So.
Okay. The I don't know how to say it, the citizens, I guess, that sit in town vehicles that plow for us,
Our temporary snowplow
is
drivers?
that what it's called?
Yes.
What they are called?
Yes.
Those.
We have 3 of them, yes.
How does it work with them? I understand they come in for the storms and like, how does it work with them as far as pay goes?
Yep,
You know, obviously they're paid by the hour.
yep. They get overtime after 8 hours.
Okay, that was one of the questions.
Yep. So I'll say this. So their rate is set on the Schedule 5, which is one of our pay rate schedules. They're not in the union, so it's on one of the schedules. It's either 1 or 5, and I could be mistaken. I will say that I don't think their rate has been, from when it was first done years ago, has kept up with what the salary of the DPWs were. So I don't know that it's ever been really adjusted upwards. Obviously, it's probably gotten some 2%, because it has gone up. It's somewhere, and I don't quote me, because it's somewhere like 7.15 an hour or something, 17.15 an hour. I think
we
at the
should look
next, at the next schedule, I would recommend making it equal to the lowest paid on DPW.
I agree.
Meaning,
I
meaning
think the
not,
fees are
not
very
the,
low.
not, and it would still be somewhere around 20 something an hour, like our, so we have, our labor maintenance, labor janitor rate, not our maintenance man rate, but our, cause those guys have to have CDLs, so we're talking non-CDL driver.
Correct.
Just if it was a laborer, we'll make it the step one of that. And we'll
Okay,
have
that's
it,
what I'm going at. I agree with that. I think they,
I would
they're
recommend that.
underpaid. I
I
think
do
they're
too.
underpaid.
And
I
we're
think
not
we
getting
should,
people
and we're not getting people to come out
because of it.
to help.
Yeah,
And I know there's trucks that sit that we could,
well, not much
not a
this
lot,
year.
but, right.
We've had too many broken down trucks to have trucks. We've been borrowing trucks left and right, so.
The other thing that I was kinda, maybe something for discussion, food for thought, keep in the back of the head, in your head, I know that, with this pandemic of COVID and people being sick, I know you were short with people being out.
We have been.
Is there, and I don't know, I'm looking for an answer, or a suggestion, or something, is there something we could do to, can you
help
bring
our
in an
guys?
off-duty fireman, can you bring in an
Yeah.
off-duty policeman, can you?
Can't.
I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, cause I know we get short staff with sicknesses, and
Yep.
especially with COVID, you got hit, everybody did. That was just another thing, I guess we can't really do anything.
So I can tell you that we have an agreement with this. We've been able to use some of the school staff at different points, and they've been assisted us with staff at different times, which has definitely helped,
Oh,
especially
definitely.
when we were completely short-staffed. It definitely helped. Obviously, we look for whoever is willing to come in and drive trucks. But we are at a point that we are. And forgive me, because I haven't checked to see if 30's back up and running, which is one of our pickup trucks that went down. So we had gotten to a point where we literally didn't have any more trucks. We literally went during the storm and got the sewer department to come in and unlock their truck that they weren't plowing with to take it and plow. Because that was the only spare vehicle we had when we broke down. So I'm happy we have 3 drivers. I agree with you, and in an ideal situation, maybe we had more, but at times this year,
And
I
think
wouldn't have even had a
I
truck.
think we might get more if we adjust that
Rates a little
rate.
bit.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, that's kinda low, so, the other, excuse me, another thing I want to bring up is, we don't get a lot of people putting in
For contractors.
for
anyway.
contractors. And I know the reason why, and I agree with it, is that insurance. Is that something, who sets that? What can we do about it? Obviously, I believe it's set by the town's insurance company, which, in my opinion, that
So
number
the-
they want is totally asinine.
So what the town's insurance company has told us is that they want us to closely as much match to what we carry for insurance, because, and it's not exact, we didn't go up that high. Because it would be even worse, and I agree with you. And,
Did you guys vote to approve or send up about the swimming tank?
sorry.
Sorry.
And they,
Sorry,
so the town managers, they've always taken that advice and said, yes, we need to keep it higher, because, and the reasoning is that if something bad ever really happened and they ended up suing, and what will happen was they'll go after the contractor first, and then they'll come after the town. And whatever that difference in liability insurance that it has is what's going to get paid. And so if you make your contractors carry the similar liability insurance to you, then you don't have as a town, we're not taking on that risk. And that's why the insurance companies are telling us that. That's my impression of why they're telling us that.
When was the last time anybody who was short of that amount actually
Oh, we've never
got
had it.
sued?
We've never had it. That since I've been here, nobody's ever sued us for that. Anyway,
I don't think I don't
but
think
but
they
it's
It
not.
just takes that one.
But it does just
It's
take that
true,
one.
But I'm so tired of doing everything based on liability.
Yeah,
when
I
it
just
gets in the way of
think that
common
number's
sense
high, and I
it's
understand
not.
why, but we can't get contractors to come in. So,
Exactly, that's what, I agree.
two more things on that. The hours these guys are working, we're killing them. And
I agree.
With me driving around, which I'm out there plowing, I know you're having a hard time getting guys to come in. The sidewalks, send them home 4, 5, 6 hours. They don't want to come back. I don't blame them. I think it's something that it comes back to liability. That something we should think about. I mean, running guys in shifts, giving these guys are going 30 hours nonstop.
Yeah.
That big
We've had one.
14-inch storm we had, those guys went 30 hours easy.
Yeah, I would have to
And-
look back. Kev, I was here.
I know that. Yeah, and I'm just trying, you know.
And
I
I
worked-
was
I worked
exhausted
for
and
the-
I didn't even plow.
Yeah,
so
I work for the town. I know what it's like, and
Um,
it takes a toll on the guys. And
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's something that somebody needs to look into that
Yeah,
to see if there's
we-
some sort of downtime we can get. I mean, I know the state does it. I mean, you got these guys out. Technically, they're on their CDLs, and they're going over their time limits. I mean, it boils down to a safety issue.
and we are very proactive and we're very in this is what I'll tell you is if any of the guys come and tell me they're tired, I tell them to rest. That it is an immediate. I
Yeah.
had one guy come and tell me last storm, he was one of my temporary hires that I'm exhausted, I gotta go home.
And that's
granted,
understandable.
they're not even they haven't done it for 15 years like these guys
Right.
have, and I worry about even these guys, you know. And I said, yep, if you're telling me you're tired, you're going home. We'll deal with the roads.
No, and I agree.
We were-
I just think
and
it's
we were
something
proactive during that
we should
storm.
look into. If there's a different way we can do it. You got 40 pieces coming in. All right, let's work. And
10.
you guys are gonna work 10, and you guys are gonna
So-
work 7 and go home, which is tough getting them to come back in. But
Yeah.
if you give them, hey, take an extra half hour. Whether you go to the highway department and chill out for that. Get out of the truck, walk around.
Yeah.
Something to look into.
Which
on that.
I mean, you guys probably know the fire department fed us,
Yeah, I know that.
and we rotated, and it was it's
And
not
that's a good break. That's a good downtime.
take
And
get out of the truck. I fed them. The fire department fed them. I cooked chili for the guys. Had sandwiches. We planned it the day before. I went and got everything. Had it all there. Told them to come in, take a break.
And I think that's great. When I plowed for the town, when I worked for the town, George was on the fire department. They would do a spaghetti
Yep,
dinner
you-
for the guys. They'd empty out some bays. I think
When
that's
you
great.
know it's going to be that long
Take
duration
your
term, we definitely have to, because you can't sit in a truck that long.
No, it
It's
takes a toll.
it's gonna get dangerous. And I've had conversations about doing split shifts. It doesn't get a lot of support in my union right yet. I think its time will come.
I just think it's something that we just, obviously you think about it, but
I think about it every day that I'm sitting in there trying to,
because it is a lot.
yeah. When I'm there doing the long hours with them, I appreciate what they do every time, every minute. I will also say, they don't always feel very appreciated. And that's a big problem. It's a big problem with morale in my department. And they have gone the extra mile, and I do know that, and they have been doing that. They've been working real hard, and everybody else seems to get, it was brought up to me at one point, you're giving bonuses to the contractors if they come in, which nobody's getting this year, by the way. He said to me, the person I was talking to said, "Where's our bonus? We come in every storm."
Yep. And I do agree. They are not appreciated, and they do long hours, and it's.
And I know they're getting paid their overtime. I do understand that, and that's the argument. But let me tell you, at some point,
Enough's enough. I mean,
when is it
it's-
when is it just not worth it?
exactly.
And because they are committed to their job, they do come in and do it.
Oh, no, I agree. And it's, I don't know, like I said, it's something we should kind of look at. But
Do you want to ask about the Bobcat? Because I have an answer for you.
I have a couple questions about that.
Hold on.
But,
Well, you're not done yet, so I'll let you finish and then I'll go to George.
so the Bobcat rental thing, it came through subcommittee, but it didn't. And I had questions then, and the meeting was canceled. I forget why, so it got pushed upstairs, and I just have a couple questions. Who holds the liability on that machine? Who pays for repairs? That machine is over
Repair-
20 years old.
Minor
That we rent.
repairs we pay for. Liability would probably be just like any other liability if is on the town because we're the one driving it.
So when you say minor repairs, do we have a dollar amount set on that?
No.
I think we should have a dollar amount set on that.
Well, I'm
Because
hoping-
a minor repair, some
Right.
people think $500, someone could say $2,500. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said,
I
the
can tell
equipment's
you
over
we've-
20 years old.
We've never had to do anything over like $100.
Okay.
So with that, and we only pay for the hours we use it. That's in the agreement. We currently have put in a grant application through Shared Streets to get basically the same size machine, which will alleviate us having to do the rental in the future.
Okay.
So now you feel better?
Somewhat. That would, the other thing coming with that is where it falls back on sidewalks. One machine takes 14 hours, 13 hours to do
More,
sidewalks.
yeah.
You know, depends on what we get for snow, and
Yeah.
that's where I was kind of, you know, we got a big, like tonight, we had 12 inches of snow coming. That's where I think we should try to think of, all right, this guy's normally the guy who operates the machine. My opinion, don't stick him out there to start plowing, and then he's gonna end up sitting in the machine 14 hours later.
Well,
It's
we
that
always
break.
we always take a break. We don't do sidewalks. It used to be when we could get a sidewalk contractor, they would start as soon as the storm ended,
Mm-hmm.
and it would take one guy to do that 14 hours. Obviously, we don't have that anymore,
Right.
so we don't start as soon as the storm ends. The storm ends, we go home and we take a break. It's not into the next day that we will come in with a team, and we used every machine that we can possibly use. So we rent one. We have one that's an older machine that's wider that doesn't fit everywhere, but it can fit somewhere. So we send it to the locations it can fit. We use the small. There's 4 machines. We put 4 different areas out. We use the small excavator that we have from the water department. Oh, and we use the sewers product. So we send them all out as much as we can. Now, granted, we also have one that's 20 years old and breaks down and actually much worse shape than that one. So that's part of the issue. But hopefully with the new machine, we don't have to do the rental.
So the last thing I want to bring up about the Bobcat, the last time it went out, and I know many years ago this was a big issue, but I noticed the Bobcat does not carry a plate. And it was a big issue.
I will check
And one of the reasons why I did not put my machine on the town was because it said I needed a plate, and I am not paying sales tax on my machine.
I will check on it because I thought it had to.
It does not have a plate, and the only thing I just want to recommend, and it's nothing against the guy who owns it, the contractor, I respect him a lot, it should not carry a construction plate on it, because that's illegal. It boils down to, without a plate on it, there's gonna be a liability issue there if something does happen.
I will look into it.
Like I said, I got nothing against Jimmy or anything, but I noticed it didn't have a plate.
Okay. I will look into it.
Thank you.
George, go ahead.
Subcontractors, nobody wants to do it because of
No.
liability, insurance. But the other part of that is that people would pay for liability, additional liability, if the rates reflected it
We have increased.
increases.
We have increased the rates in attempt when we did it to reflect it.
I was told it's not enough
Yeah, but at some point, how much
The
is
thing
pay
is
raise?
the insurance, I mean, I have to carry it anyways with
Right.
my business, but the insurance that you have to get, it's just over
15.
$5,000.
We would never be able to make our rates and
One
still
at
be
a
able
time,
to.
please.
So increasing that wouldn't help? 'Cause I
You
know-
guys wouldn't wanna pay the rate that would need to be done, is what I think I'm saying.
Because I know in the state, when I filed for McKissick, was that they added wing pots.
Yep,
So they,
we're not very, Yeah.
they, in place of the wing plow, they gave them additional money to cover their costs. Then they required to put the calcium chloride or the magnesium tanks on, and they gave them X amount of, by a dollar rate, by the
Yeah.
hourly rate, to increase to cover their costs.
yep.
That's all I'm looking at, because the state did that.
What I'm gonna tell you though, is our rates are already comparable to state rates. So how much higher than the state do you wanna go? And the problem is, the reason people go to the state, how much you bet the state's already in?
Oh, yeah. They can-
Well, I sat 13 hours when
Hey.
I never plowed.
Yes,
I
we
understand
don't do that,
I
so
understand that
when
part
it,
of
We
it.
can't afford to do that. We should.
My phone went off at 7:15.
But I didn't know if you adjusted the rate.
we
to
did
help
adjust
cover
the rates,
cost
to,
of the-
we went, a couple years ago when this started to be a bigger issue, we looked at the rates, we looked at the rates of adjacent areas, we looked at the state rates, and we adjusted it up. The last year, in order to try to get more people in, I talked about the bonus. We put $1,000 bonus per machine in if you show up for every snow plowing event. The first year, both contractors who were the same contractors that we had last year got the bonus. This year, because of different issues, neither one of them, they're already disqualified because they haven't shown up for every event. So I've done those things. $1,000 per piece of equipment. It's a guaranteed $1,000, right? I mean,
Yep.
the insurance covers all the pieces of equipment you put in. So one guy has 4 pieces on. So if he had his coming even 3, he has half of that back right there before he even has a huge snow event. So we tried to do it that way so that we got them in, so that we knew that we'd have them, because that was another part of the issue, of making sure that they'd show up. So we tried to incentivize it. It still doesn't, obviously, it still doesn't matter. It's still a problem. I don't have the answer. I don't think I can do some analysis after this year compared to some of the past years. What I will say is when I started here and I started as interim director, we had a lot more people that were doing contractors, and that cost of those contractors was obviously a lot bigger hit to our snow and ice. Just because we have less contractors, we're saving a lot of money. Not saving, we're not spending as much money in snow and ice because of the fact that we just don't have as many contractors.
Right.
Now, we've done things to change it. We're using water department personnel. There's a cost associated with them, but it's not as high as the contractor cost. I don't have the answer, but I don't know that paying $200 an hour is the answer either. Which I think, if you looked at it based on the number of hours, is where you'd have to be to make up that 5,000. I do think the bonus program is the answer,
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
but it still didn't. I mean, if you can't find the staff to put in your truck, what good does that do you, right? And that's part of what they're facing. Am I happy the guy pulled us for? But if he's not happy with his drivers, I can't force him to stay.
I just didn't know if it was a town thing. That's all.
No, it wasn't. And he is coming back, like I said, for this storm. And the other contractor, he can't find drivers to put on his state trucks. So how is he going to fill my truck? His truck is supposed to be there. I'm sympathetic to all those things because I know the labor market's kind of a crazy thing right now. So and it will change again. I have lived through a recession once already, and it's coming back. I know it, but until that happens, we're gonna have to be as creative as we can and be as patient as we can to get us to clear the roads. We've done a pretty good job.
I think you've done a good
Yeah.
job.
Okay.
Actually, I think with what you have.
I think we're really trying.
all set on that.
We're
Thank you.
all set, George? All right, so let's move on to agenda item number 15. Update on open trench permit regulations, review and update the trench permit regulations as to what the contractor is responsible to do, and look into issuing fines.
Heather,
And this was
Yeah.
Kevin?
Yeah, I know, and I said we try to do it this year and we haven't yet, so.
okay, that's.
And the interesting thing is, speaking of fines, and I've been educated a little, because obviously you have the ability to issue fines in water and sewer for doing illegal things, and we've found some recent water thefts, and we've been trying to muddle our way through with a new assessor, and like, it normally was like, we just told Will, well, they're stealing water, just deal with it, you know? Well, we found out the proper procedure hasn't really been followed. For me to issue a fine, I actually have to call the police and have them do a 21D on the person. Because that's the only fine issuing, that's the way, which now I know, so that's kind of going to be the way that we'll model anything for a trench permit also, because it will have to come from the police. I think they're the only ones that can issue fines.
Right, well, my biggest thing is they're not.
They're not following.
Obviously, you're gonna have to upgrade the wording as far as
Right.
what they need to do. Cause a lot of them are not doing it, but on the other hand, I blame 50% of what's going on from the town side not following up. And I know, George even said it boils
So-
down to staff, but
Yeah.
our roads are just getting hammered, and it's,
Yep.
and I'm not afraid to say it, Nuco and the gas company are hammering our roads, but we don't go back and do the follow-up. You know, we do have a couple of contractors that do work that, you know, their trenches are bad or whatever it might be, but we gotta start going after them, in my opinion, and, you know, obviously you have a hard time with, you know, you bring it up to some of them and nothing happens, and that's where I always brought up that thing, well, if we start hitting them in the pocket, maybe they'll start doing something about it.
Yeah.
And that was my thing, and I know you said in January you would kind of, but I know you had budgets and all that, so I just,
No, and I will bring it up to
Chipping in
Matt
there,
to look at the, at least putting a fine structure in there, even if we use it, updating the regulations to include, the permit, basically, to include a fining mechanism, which we have it in our water, sewer, and our stormwater, so we can just mirror that, so that shouldn't be that big of an, as difficult, and then it's an easier piece, and if we understand the mechanism to doing it and do it a couple times, you're right, it will get people's attentions. And then we can work on the mechanisms of how we do the inspections, because I would really like to get into a work order system to do the inspections, but it takes a lot of legwork on the front end for us to get it up and running. Once it's up and running, it actually will run relatively smooth, but I need someone to do that.
I mean, it can be
It's-
based on the permit, I mean, I'm assuming, probably not the right word to use, but Nuco and that, they must have to pull,
They do. They don't always do it very effectively. We're usually monitoring, you know, I'm surprised you haven't brought it up, but Nuco had to, not Nuco, National Grid.
I don't wanna go there.
Yeah,
Not
Me
tonight,
neither.
Not tonight.
but it's happening. We called them. I called them as soon as I was told.
I probably got called before you did. As soon as the dig safe number went in.
Yeah. Well, I got the emergency dig safe number and I called them basically and said, "Are you really kidding me?" And he said, "Heather, it's a class 1 leak. We have a potential for, you know, a bad explosion there." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I got a friend that works for
I'm not
dig
aware
safe.
of where this, what you're
Page
talking about.
Hill, they
Page
had
Hill
to
that
dig
did
up the lower part of Page Hill, and now they're working down in Central Street, in that, you had a name for me. Across from,
Across from Christine.
Christine
the old
Thompson's.
Christine.
yeah, across from, yeah,
The major gas leak.
Really?
yeah,
Yeah, like
When did this
explosive.
happen?
2 days ago?
Yeah.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday about 6:50.
Yeah, it was about, well, no, I think actually it was before I left. So, and it was before the water department left, because Corey came out and Steve came out to me and went, "Heather, you're not gonna like this very much." And I literally was like on the phone, and they said, "No, it's a bad gas leak. We can't leave it." I'm like, tell me this is only in the guy's yard. He's like, no.
I'm just hoping when it gets
Alright.
patched, it's center line and
Yes.
seam sealer and,
Okay.
More
Well,
things.
are
Thank
all
you.
set? Yep.
thank you, Ella.
Okay. If there's nothing else on this one, agenda item number 16, discuss request to remove trees in Oak Ridge Cemetery to allow for more burial spots. I had a resident call me up and asked that we take a look at this. I went down there and took a look at Cohasset Street. I believe Councilor Adams took a look at it too.
I did today, yeah.
There's a whole line of
Pine
trees there
trees.
that could come down and to make room for more burial spots, because apparently there is starting to become a shortage of lots.
Yeah, we
up
only
there.
have single lots that are for sale. We
If you
don't
took
have
the
any
trees down, that would open it up to probably,
I would have to look at the area, because some of the, and I don't know exactly, so I would ask that we have to go and look at what's already laid out,
Right.
because some of the lots are sold with trees in them. So it could be an existing lot that just had a tree in it.
I don't think these are, they've got roots growing out and all.
Right
and
on
you can't
Cohasset
even
Street,
dig-
right along the fence.
You can't even dig there because of the roots. The issue that was pointed out is that you could probably more than recoup the money that it would take to take those trees down by selling those burial lots. And maybe even sell the tree, maybe sell the wood, I don't know.
Pine's not worth
Councilor
anything.
Adams
Pole
may want to
pines, though.
speak to it as well, so. Anyways, I said I would bring it up. for
Yeah,
us to
I
discuss.
can take a look into it, so it's the ones right along Cohasset Street.
Right along the fence line.
Okay, at least I know where it is, and I have to pull it.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Heather, you said like we only have single lots left?
Yeah.
What about that
Unused
main,
lot.
when, I don't know what the lot's called, as soon as you drive in, go down the hill to the right, that opening,
That's where all the single, that's
those are all
Legend
singles?
Field.
Do we have any more, like what about the coal forest, is that part of the cemetery? What's, cause that's where I grew up, that's,
Yeah.
so that, we
So-
can expand out there if need,
Correct. We'd have to go through some permitting.
yeah.
Our
I'm
biggest,
just- we
our
do have
biggest
land over there.
problem right now and over there is if we went over there and tried to keep it attached to the existing cemetery is
The river.
is that bridge culvert thing. I use that term loosely,
Yeah, I've seen that.
was extremely impacted in one of the recent storms. So in order to do that, we would have to rip that whole structure out, put a proper bridge structure in, which you're talking $200,000.
Easy. All right, I wasn't sure if that, I know Coal Forest,
No money
the
in
town owned it,
cemeteries.
but,
No,
yeah, I didn't know if it was part cemetery land or if it was just regular town land.
I was always told it was part cemetery land because when I first started, when I was chief engineering services, the previous had envisioned laying out that for the cemetery. It never happened while he was here, and so it's always been in the back of my mind. I've heard some potential of maybe some endangered species over there, so that would be something we'd have to kind of look in for permitting before we did anything.
You know, like, that end is a large wetland down there.
Yeah, so obviously we'd have to go into the upland areas, we'd have to cross that stream. Now, could we potentially look at a different access on the other side? Obviously, that's a possibility too, because the wetlands are gonna be closer to the river. We do own some land. Is there a
It's a big
possibility?
chunk.
It's a big project,
We
though.
own the whole thing. We own
Right.
the whole forest.
All right,
But I would personally rather not see it be all chopped down. I don't know how many acres it is, but.
Councilor Adams?
So I did go down and talk to the same resident, and actually I didn't even know there was an entrance right in that area over there, so I found something new today in town. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how many more spaces it possibly, I don't know if there's ledge down there and the trees, I have no idea what's there. I guess my concern is if the town is running out of spaces and if it's true that towns are responsible for the municipality cemetery, I mean, what's the next plan of attack, I guess?
Go forest.
Right, that's what I'm saying, you know, and are there, because I obviously had another resident a while back ask, that they bought 15 lots, but the one guy didn't have any kids, and now you got 13 left. is there any way we can go back and say, here's your money?
Yeah.
And
Take some of it back, yeah.
open that back up to the residents?
That would make sense, yeah.
At that, I'll tell you what, I just went through it.
Yeah, well, we have
And
to buy one
at
too.
that point though, you're talking, that's real estate.
Yeah.
Real estate, you
For
get-
what I paid for my 6 spots 35 years ago and what it's worth now, 6 spots 35 years ago was $450. It's
We'll
like
get that
$2,000.
back.
It's like $2,000 a spot right now. So.
Well, anyway.
So what we've always said, and I think you know this, and out for the rest of you, is we consider that a private land transaction. And yes, you can go, and we recommend you go through the different funeral homes because a lot of them do have the contacts of the people that might be already there or anything else, or might know people. And when people come to us and say we want to sell our lots, because it does happen, we tell them, go to one of the funeral homes, they probably have somebody, and it can be a private transaction. And you should get a copy of the deed and copy of all of that transferred over to your name. Because when we sell a lot, we give them a piece of paper that functions as your deed of that lot. The other thing, which we could have a mini like presentation, I don't want to do it right away, but like we should have some instructional presentations about what you should do with your, when you buy your cemetery plot and you have all these. Because the other problem that we have, grandma has the lot, grandma dies, but doesn't put it in her will who it goes to. 3 generations later, they have these lots, they know grandma's in there, and there's spaces, but now they're fighting about who gets to go there, and whose are they. So we always say, look, you have to go back and find out who was the power of attorney, or who was the executor of the will, and how was it distributed. And if you want to, and then you have to get all those people to sign off. But before grandma dies and she puts it in her will, or she writes it down and sends it to us certified, we'll put it in with her deed and say, this is her wishes. For us, that's enough. But without that, we get really, really, it's very difficult now, especially when you get 1 or 2 generations removed, because now you have all those heirs, and whose lots are those?
Absolutely.
Right?
Well-
I mean,
The issue that I brought this up tonight was because those trees are right there. They
No,
don't look-
it's
they
an
don't
easy one to look at.
healthy. The roots are up out of the ground. I've seen trees like that look like that fall down easily during a really bad storm.
Yep.
So it would allow for more burial spots. So the resident asked that we take a look at removing those trees so they can get, he said, he thinks probably another 100 lots in there at least.
It's worth a try.
It's
I
worth
guess.
it's
worth
worth
looking.
me looking at it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
determining if there really is space,
You let
enough
me know and
space.
I'll go down there and show you exactly.
No, I know where you're talking now. that You
Okay.
told me along Cohasset Street. I have a good
It's
visual.
right by
Yep.
the entrance there.
Yep.
All right. Are we good?
Hope so.
Just sure, before you ask for adjournment,
Right.
I did want to get back to the answer of the carpets. Not to
Okay.
labor this thing. On January 24th, Karen did send us a capital projects from, older to younger. Now, there's quite a bit of money in it. She's gonna have to get with department heads to make sure to don't need any of that money back, kind of what we did before. So even though it may say, $1.2 million, you may only have $200,000 left of that. So the last time it was updated was June 30th. So she's gonna take a look at that, get with department heads like she did last time, and say, okay, here you go. She also stated, we have free cash as well to utilize if we needed it. If you don't want to take it off sidewalk, then you do free cash, or you do the capital projects.
All right.
So there's a lot of avenues to be able to purchase
Okay.
and pay for
I
it.
appreciate it, thank you.
No problem.
All right, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? All right, thank you. Thank you for sticking around.